Astrocass here, back with a quick astrology update for the transits for June. I hope that you find this very helpful, and don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss any content. I love doing astrology updates, health and fitness stuff, family, pregnancy, psychology. So if you're into any of those things, definitely make sure you hit that little bell icon and subscribe to my channel. But let's jump into it. This one's for my Aries risings. Which I'm an Aries rising, so I'm really excited about this transit because there's a lot of great stuff happening with Jupiter and Aries going through our first house, so very exciting. But let's just talk about where the sun starts off. So the sun is our ego, it's our vitality, it's our confidence, it's where we're shining, it's where people are taking notice of us and how well we're doing. So the sun starts off in our Gemini third house, Gemini season, so it can be a great time for networking, catching up with friends, learning, sharing communication, even doing stuff on social media, because Gemini does rule that communication and some forms of social media and internet, newspapers, all that kind of stuff. So can be a great time for all of that, and you might be being a bit of a social butterfly and just getting out with your friends a bit more. And you might even be spending time with your siblings, because that's again third house topic. So yeah, just short distance trips, neighbors, siblings, getting out in your community, networking, socializing, a little bit of social media. You could be shining and getting noticed in those areas. Again, it does depend on your natal chart, so make sure you check out what aspects are happening with these transits to your personal planets and your natal chart. If you need assistance with that, definitely reach out and let me know. I do natal chart readings, I can send natal chart reports, I'll put all my information below, which will definitely help you because we don't all experience these transits the same way. It impacts our natal chart a little bit differently. On the 21st though, the sun then moves into Cancer, and it'll be Cancer season, but it'll be transiting through our fourth house. So that just means that you're really going to be shining, and people are going to take notice of how well you're doing in regards to your home and family. You might be putting a bit more of your time and focus into spending time with your family members, which is really going to boost your confidence and happiness, and you might be just really shining in that area. Maybe there's some moments where you're really proud of your house and you kind of get to brag about it, or your children, or just your family members, or you're having some really good catch-ups with family members, or just enjoying spending more time at home. Like maybe you just kind of be a little bit of a hermit for Cancer season and you're just spending more time at home and you're really enjoying your environment. For some people, maybe they need to recharge their batteries and that vitality, so they need to spend more time at home and just recharge, maybe especially after a busy Gemini season. Being out and being social, maybe you just need to take a step back, be at home a little bit more. But let's have a chat about Mercury. So Mercury is the planet of communication, news, it's learning, it's all that fun stuff. So Mercury starts off in retrograde, which I know we've been feeling because of the eclipse seasons, and then Mercury retrograde happening in Gemini, which went back to Taurus. So I started the retrograde cycle off in Gemini, but officially finishes and stations direct in Taurus. So basically, it started off in our third house of Gemini, which just means we're thinking, revisiting communications, contracts, maybe our work environment a little bit can be impacted by this as well, because Mercury does rule that sixth house as well. But there's some news coming up, and there's some projects that needed to be finished, and we were revisiting those areas with that Mercury retrograde. Because it retrogrades back into Taurus, I'm assuming a lot of this stuff's going to be about money for people, because second house for us is money, possessions, finances, and values. So what are we valuing? What's important to us? How do we want to make money? How are we spending money? How are we budgeting? How are we planning for all that? What possessions do we have? What things can we get rid of? What's important to us? So that retrograde is really going to bring a lot there for us. But Mercury does turn direct on the 3rd of June. So that's when it'll turn direct in the sign of Taurus, which is, again, as I mentioned, is in our second house, and it'll transit through Taurus until the 14th of June, which is when it'll move back into Gemini. So when Mercury goes into Gemini, again, we're going to be communicating a lot more, learning a bit more, Being social butterflies, our brains and thoughts, because Mercury is our thoughts, it's our communication, our learning. They're going to be quick, they're going to be curious, we're going to be bouncing all over the place, we're going to be very social. It's going to be, again, you know, the Sun and Mercury, it's just going to bring a lot of that Gemini energy to us. And then we've got Venus. So Venus starts off in Taurus in the second house until the 23rd. So Venus is love, romance, money, our pleasures. So that transiting through our second house gives a bit of a focus on money, a bit of attention around that area. Maybe we're coming into money, maybe we're spending a bit more money than we usually do. Maybe we've got to reorientate our spending habits. So, you know, with Taurus we can be, you know, I guess, really wanting to feel comfortable. We can overindulge in things, can get a little bit lazy. So maybe we've been a bit lazy with our money and spending, or maybe we're just spending money on like more bougie things, like, you know, more luxury comfort things that we don't really need. So just keep an eye out for those things. But generally Taurus is a really great house for Venus to be in, especially in our second house because of the rulership. It's traditionally where the zodiac signs are set up, and Venus enjoys being in here. The highlights are obviously can bring in more money, more planning, more stability there. But just keep an eye that we're not overspending, overindulging with our food, with our money, with our values, all those sorts of things. On the 23rd, Venus will then move into Gemini, into our third house. So that's when we're really going to be enjoying communicating more. We're going to be communicating in more, maybe in a more loving way, or in a more pleasurable way. We're going to be focusing and thinking more about our pleasure, and just pleasure in general, and love and romance. So, you know, maybe you're being a social butterfly and you meet somebody in your neighborhood, like a new romance, or maybe you're just loving spending time with your siblings. Maybe you're loving going on short distance trips. Maybe you're just really loving, you know, the thoughts and the way you're communicating with that transit. Then we've got Mars. So Mars is the planet of action, passion, war, and aggression. It's what we're fighting for and fighting with. So Mars starts off in our Aries first house, as I mentioned at the start of the video. So that gives us a bit of an energy boost. So remember, our first house is our physical appearance. It's our body. It's also our self-identity and our self-branding. So with Mars going through there, we can walk a bit quicker, we can do things a bit quicker without kind of thinking. We are more accident prone, we're more passionate, we're taking action. We might be, you know, giving off some kind of sex appeal, or just a bit of, you know, a bit of attitude, a bit of passion, a bit of spice. Yeah, but just be, obviously, as I mentioned, be careful of like accidents. We might be more energized, so exercising and changing up our appearance, we might be a bit more risky. You might want to change up your style, or you might be in more active wear, you know, doing more errands, those sorts of things. But you're definitely going to get a bit of an energy boost. For me personally, I am pregnant and we're pretty sure we might be doing a C-section. So Mars going through that first house for me makes a lot of sense, because Mars can represent doctors, surgery, and like blood and stuff like that, and going through your first house. Obviously that makes a lot of sense for me. Again, it does depend on your natal chart, so check those things out. In general, it doesn't always mean blood and accidents and stuff like that. It can mean a lot of things, as I said, from just changing up your appearance to being more assertive to having more energy, any of those things. It really depends on your own natal chart. So yeah, Mars will be going through that first house for all of June, so it won't go into Taurus until next month. So we'll talk a bit more about that later. We also had a new moon. This one was on the 30th of May, so not quite in June, but I thought I would still include it because it's technically the new moon for June. So in Australia, Sydney, Eastern Standard Time, new moon happened on the 30th of May in Gemini, third house at roughly 9:30 p.m. Again, you might have to change this depending on where you live. Time zones can be a bit different, but this new moon was in Gemini, so in our third house. So expect some new beginnings around communication, around learning, around networks and friendships, and something new to do with probably our siblings, or short distance trips and travels. Something new with our neighborhood. Any of those kind of third house topics can come up. Maybe you're starting a short course, you're learning something new. You could even be teaching someone something new. They're all Gemini, like third house topics. So definitely over the next, 3 months, you might notice some new beginnings around those areas, because new moons bring new beginnings and starts for us. You then have a full moon on the 14th of June. Again, Australian Eastern Standard Time, Sydney time zone. June 14th in your Sagittarius 9th house, and this happens at 9:51 p.m. Full moons bring endings and cycles to completion. So if you check out when the last Sagittarius new moon was, that would have kicked off these topics and events for us personally. And now this full moon is bringing those things to a completion, to an end. It's finished off that cycle. So you should know what the full moon's bringing you, or what events are happening, you know, over the next 3 to 6-ish months, more so 3 months. So keep an eye out for those things. And if you already kind of know what this could all be about, definitely comment, interact, let me know below like what's happening for you, what you think is going to be coming up, or what does come up for you. Come back and, you know, drop a comment, let me know. I always get really excited about this stuff because your Sagittarius 9th house is your higher education. So I think university, or, you know, big courses, higher education. It's also spirituality, religion, philosophy. It's the mentor, it's the wise person, it's traveling, it's anything to do with like foreign lands, foreign people, foreign products. So whether you relocate to foreign lands, whether you go on an overseas trip, whether you're publishing, you know, some kind of article, journal or book, because publishing can be 9th house as well. And 9th house can also be like legal battles, legal events, lawyers, those sorts of things as well. So any of those like 9th house topics with our education, with our beliefs, with travel, legal systems, anything like that, you could be getting some endings and completions and cycles finishing up around those areas for you. And I think that's pretty much everything for June. I mean, there's a lot of stuff happening. We've had a lot of stuff going on with the eclipse seasons and retrogrades, but I'm really interested to see how this is impacting you guys. And again, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one.